Hello everyone, my name is Yusuf and this is a video about the weather. Today we are the 9th of February and I decided to make a small weather video and talk a little bit about the danger of the San Andreas fault line in line of the earthquake that happened in Turkey. So let's begin with the weather. As you know or don't know, I always start with the polar vortex because this is the most driving factor of the weather. As you can see, the polar vortex is in a very interesting position, slightly above the Scandinavian countries, when in reality, in more normal conditions, it should be over the Arctic. But this is actually interesting because they say that the polar vortex follows the cold air mass at the surface. And this is completely wrong because when I put, for example, this is the Arctic temperature map, we can see that it is over here. And at the surface, I mean, it's literally above freezing temperatures. So the polar vortex doesn't really follow the cold temperatures. So this is actually again proof that the polar vortex, excuse me, is entirely driven by magnetic field, by Earth's magnetic field. This is actually proof, undeniable proof, because it is located where at the surface it is literally above freezing point, and it shouldn't be that way. Moreover, if we look actually at the counterpart, at the South Pole, we can see that it is located, even if it is not really visible because it's summer over there, that it is not, how do I say this, that is actually where it should be, right on top of Antarctica. So there's clearly some issue with the magnetic field of the north, and this again supports the theory of the wandering magnetic field. Is this going to be the new normal to see the polar vortex over the Scandinavian countries? I don't know, but it has been shifting a lot. In fact, as of lately, I didn't see it much over the Arctic. So there you have it. On a more positive note, it is actually positive, going to positive values. And this is actually good news. This means that we will have warm weather over the mid-latitudes, especially over Europe, but also in the US. As you can see, it's starting to get positive, and I'm going to show you briefly. So the difference between a positive and a negative phase is very simple. In a positive phase, the cold is held together in the Arctic. And we can actually clearly see this, that it's already happening when we see the temperature map. There is little spillover to the mid-latitudes. We can see this in the United States, you can see it over Siberia. So it is mostly concentrated over the Arctic, even if the position is a little bit erratic, to say the least, of the polar vortex. So this is good news. On the other hand, of course, storms will be pushing towards Europe because we will have strong westerlies. But who's going to complain when we will have more than mild temperatures in the days to come, or even weeks? So a positive oscillation, in my opinion, is always better than the negative phase. There you have it. I also wanted to point out that recently there has been an increase in temperature in the top layers of the atmosphere, also known as a stratospheric warming. But when we look at the temperatures, they are subsiding. They are subsiding in all layers of the atmosphere. So it is safe to assume that momentarily we did have the past few weeks a brief warming, but it is subsiding. And this is also good news because this indicates that the polar vortex might remain strong instead of splitting in two or having a major stratospheric warming, which could cause, of course, mid-latitudes to cool off. So both good news for the weather, and let's hope it stays that way. Now, oh yes, and by the way, if you haven't done already, don't forget to hit the like button if you like so far what you've seen. and most of all, subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any future of my videos. There you have it. Now I will switch over to the earthquakes. As you all know, there has been a major earthquake in Turkey, and lots of people died, unfortunately. This is actually a spillover effect to the earthquakes happening in the Ring of Fire. But what I want to talk about and show you is where earthquakes didn't happen. You see, I will be talking about the San Andreas fault line. This is, for example, the 7 days magnitude 4.5 or higher. You can see there's basically nothing happening at the San Andreas, and this has been the case for many months and years. And the consensus tells us that there basically it is long overdue for a big one. You have to know the San Andreas fault line is a rather static fault line, and so pressures builds up with time. It builds up, and when an earthquake happens, it doesn't happen often, but when it happens, it's a very big one and very deadly. So this is basically the danger that I'm sensing. Now I will put the 30 days 4.5 magnitude or bigger and show you. So as you can see, there has been very few quakes on the San Andreas fault line, just one 5-pointer off the coast of Oregon. This shows you that most of the earthquakes happening in the world were actually on the other side of the Ring of Fire, on the left side of the Ring of Fire, but also in South America, on this side, there have been quite a few quakes in the last 30 days. And this is a trend. This is a trend that is continuing, basically, that is presenting itself for years now, if not decades. There hasn't been a major earthquake in the San Andreas fault line for a very long time. So what you have seen in Turkey is basically a spillover effect of all this quake activity. So the fault line, the Anatolian fault line, gave in to the pressure, and soon or later San Andreas will do the same thing, and it won't be a 7-pointer or even an 8-pointer. In my opinion, this will be 9 or 10. It might even break the fault line itself. So I don't want to scare people, but people, if you live in California, going from San Francisco all the way to San Diego, realize that you have to have an earthquake plan. And this earthquake in Turkey shows you that when you're not prepared, you can fear the worst will come. Have an earthquake plan, transportation, food, shelter. Also have to protect yourself during the earthquake, what to do. This you can all prepare before it happens, because when it happens, it is too late. A quake happens just like that in a few seconds or minutes, and then it's over. So you have to prepare before it happens. Now you know basically that it is overdue, and what worries me is there have been floods in the past few weeks in California, torrential rains, and keep in mind that the weight of all that water could trigger in spring or summer a big earthquake. This is a well-known phenomenon because it adds weight to the tectonic plates, and yes, we could see an earthquake. Of course, it can happen next year, it can happen in a decade. Obviously, I do not know when it will happen, but I can only warn until it happens. So please, if you live in California, doesn't matter in which state, going from San Francisco all the way to San Diego, have an earthquake plan. Don't wait until it happens, because you have seen what happened in Turkey. It is a very dramatic event. Lots of people died. They were not prepared, and I don't think that anyone was actually expecting a quake, a 7.8 magnitude to happen just like that all of a sudden. But you see, it can happen. So please have an earthquake plan, prepare yourselves, talk about it with your friends and family if you live in California. And hopefully when it happens, you are well prepared and you can minimize the damage and also the casualties resulting from this earthquake that will happen. And I can guarantee you it will be a very significant one when it happens. So there you have it. Prepare yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. And this is almost the end of the video. By the way, if you haven't pressed the like button or subscribe, please do so, especially subscribing to my channel. Otherwise, you will miss any future content, and that would make me sad, of course. Let's end it with a philosophical quote, because you know me, or you don't, I do like to end my videos with a philosophical quote. Why not? So, number 75. This is a very interesting one. Neither live with a bad man nor be at enmity with him. Even as if you take hold of glowing charcoal, it will burn you. If you take hold of cold charcoal, it will sully you. I can speak of experience. This is a quote which is very powerful and very true. Never stay in the vicinity of a bad man, in the vicinity of bad people. If you have problem with them, they will burn you. And even if you don't, if you go along with them, they will sully you. Make no mistake. Bad people are like charcoal, something that has to be avoided at all costs. So there you have it. This is the end. Thank you for watching my video, and I guess we see each other next time. Bye bye, everyone.